Right. So, okay, over to you, Engineer Hayazu, just to start there. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bosu. Thank you. Yes, so everyone, you're all welcome to this webinar today. It's going to be very, very, very interesting, like we've always had in the past. Our speaker today is a fantastically experienced speaker for the topic, and we're very, very excited and very, very we're looking forward to something really great today. But I just want to say that. Please, if you join us, try to be on mute, and also while the presentation is going on, please make sure you're on mute so that we don't disrupt our speaker. I will do a very quick introduction of our speaker today, Dr. Olushola Ayola. He has a PhD. That is, but in fact, that is that is a minimum because he's the founder of robotics and artificial intelligence in Nigeria, RAIN. He is a world-class training and research product development expert in Ibadan. He's based in Ibadan. He also lectures there in Ibadan as well. So he's not just a developer, if you like. He's also in academia and is in touch with current trends. So he was the recipient of he's been a recipient of local and international awards, and he holds a first-class bachelor's degree in electrical electronics engineering from Ibadan. And we could just go on and on and on, but one interesting thing about him is he is a member of the Institution of Engineering and Technology, IET, here in the UK. He's also has this great passion for knowledge that in 2019 he voluntarily chose to resign from his robotics engineering job in the UK for a mission so dear to his heart in Nigeria. So I'm not going to talk for too long, and I'll allow us to welcome our able speaker, Dr. Ayola. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
So I'm going to make Dr. Ayola. Dr. Ayola, I believe you want to share your. Hello.
Yes.
Okay, 1 second. Let me make you a co-host. There you are. So you've got the right answer. So you can start sharing your slides.
All right. Sorry, how many minutes do I have?
Well, 30, 45, maximum 45 or 1 hour, as you can do. Okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
I'm going to mute all of us now, and I'll just unmute only Dr. Ayola, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. What happens when advanced countries run out of raw materials that they use in producing high in demand, high-tech products? What happens? Do they just wait until they run out? Or do they go to countries that have these raw materials but do not use them? So we have in this slide a news article about cobalt prices slumming despite China's ramping up imports and US declaring this a national emergency over critical materials. Another one saying that China has decided to stockpile massive amounts of cobalt, boosting the price of that rare mineral. And then you wonder, what happens when we finally train our own engineers back home on how to make good use of the kind of raw materials that, according to geography, we have splattered all over. And then when we look under our feet, we find out that what we thought we had, we no longer have them. With stories like this of illegal mining, where we sell all of what we think we have scattered all over the country, then what happens when we later develop to the point we want to advance in manufacturing and figure out that we've lost it all? Is there time for us to keep waiting, or should we all be worried? These are the things that keep me up at night. My name is Dr. Olushola Ayola. I am the founder of Robotics and Artificial Intelligence Nigeria, RAIN, and I'm also a lecturer at the Department of Electrical and Electronic Engineering, University of Ibadan. I finished from this same university some years ago with a first class, and the federal government gave me a scholarship to go to UK for my master's in advanced control and systems engineering. There, I also finished with a distinction at the University of Manchester, and the UK government gave me another scholarship for PhD, which I did robotics for extreme environment. I had the course of enjoying my experience in the UK, working with several people, particularly a company that deals with robotic solutions for the nuclear industry. So I supported the UK's Nuclear Decommissioning Authority in the development of several types of robots, underwater robots, and so on, that could deal with nuclear decommissioning. And in the course of this experience, I figured out that whenever the company needs a solution, they simply send the project to China. And then from China, they fix it, they make it, send it to us in Europe or UK. And then my job in the company as the head of control robotics would be to then check that the work has been done to standard. Otherwise, redo it, fix it, get it up to standard. Now, and I thought, if I, a Nigerian, is here in the UK helping to solve problems, advanced kind of problems, then why do they still have to send it to China? Why not send it to my own continent where more people like me are? So I started comparing the difference between Europe to China relationship and Europe to Africa relationship. And I figured out that we have a better advantage in time zone. We're almost at the same time as the Europe continent. Language, we've got the advantage because we speak English in Africa, we speak French, we speak Arabic. We are the only continent in the world with all of these languages we can blend. So when we write operation manuals for any technology product that has been produced in Africa, you don't need an interpreter, unlike when China does that and you need to get a Chinese person to interpret it for you or call them and speak to them on your behalf. Or secondly, you have to wake up at night if you need to call China if you're in the UK, because they would only be at work when you are asleep. Well, the only advantage one would assume that they have and we have is the cheaper workforce, which is fast eroding China with their silly advancing civil society. So we could have said Europe to Africa has a very good opportunity or chance than Europe to China, except for one red line that tilts the whole balance away: the expertise. China has developed an expertise starting from humble beginnings, where we in Africa have that gap, the knowledge gap. I figured out that many times we produce graduates who still do not know much about their field. They end up having no motivation to stay on that field and end up becoming bankers or something else different from what they had hitherto wanted to be. So the question was, what do we do from here? And because of the need for that, I decided to relocate to Nigeria to set up something like a technical college where we could ensure that Nigerians were trained to standard, to be able to deal with the kind of problems that UK, the world over, would want them to handle. Now, this particular place, privately funded, completely funded by me, is equipped with a robotics laboratory and has been in the business of training several people. Some of them are graduates who just need the practical aspect to become better. Some of them are high school graduates who decided to come to RAIN before even going to university so that their focus can be well cemented before they go and learn theory in the universities. And so much has been done at this facility, supporting very many companies in the area of product development, research, and certifications. So that we now have in Nigeria what we can say a world-class facility that can compete with the development of artificial intelligence and automation, Internet of Things, deep learning, embedded systems all over the world. So basically, I came back to Nigeria to make ends meet. You may ask, what ends? Not the kind of ends that people make to me, but global needs and local capacities. It was my concern to worry about what kind of things does the world need? Can we provide it? Do we have the capacity locally? And that, I believe, will determine the future of Africa. What are we doing? Who is going to do what? There are a sea of possibilities in what the world is looking for. The world is looking for advanced technologies in the area of self-healing concrete, 3D printed houses, breath analyzer cars, smart bricks, heart monitoring t-shirts. The list is endless. And these are things that future powers must have. Solutions to world problems, health-related, defense challenges. Look at the days of COVID and when we were trying to look for ventilators all over the world. Countries were overnight developing technologies that could help people live easier. In Africa, we're waiting for handout. Capacities like this are what the world needs. And if we do not respond, we would remain at the back seat. But we need to focus on the fact that there is a challenge here. The challenge is the fact that anyone who leads the world in smart engineering will determine the global culture, the global ethics, the global values going forward. Take, for example, Twitter, being able to decide what should be said and what should not, who is right and who is not. Everybody begins to try to conform to the rules set by Twitter, Facebook, and other tech giants. That tells you that whoever controls the space controls the culture. Self-driving cars, for example. Who is right, what to do in what circumstance will only be determined by whoever designs the algorithm. If it all comes from China, then we will have to live by the standards and the culture of those who produce this. So if really we want to be successful in the future, to get to that position of being leaders, then our country should take up a national concern for challenge to lead the world in smart engineering. But of course, there's a problem. We have a solid weakness. And the list of weaknesses are endless, but let's look at what I've listed. We have citizens that are not really long-sighted. They don't see the future. They don't want to see the future. So they are myopic in their views. Government would usually not want to do what is actually right, simply because the citizens that they lead would not appreciate. Take, for example, I went to see a commissioner sometime in 2019 about my plans to set up something like this. And then he said, what do people want right now? is power supply, not robotics. But then, sometimes you need to realize that the solution to the kind of problems we have is about the kind of technology you can build. And when you train someone on how to build a robot, then he already knows how to deal with bigger problems like power supply, battery systems, smart grids, and so on. So, but when a citizenry is myopic, they don't see the future, they only give to the people what the people are clamoring for, which is daily bread. Sometimes we can say there is insufficient government funding. True, in many cases. Take, for example, University of Manchester's budget in a year. For a 5-year upgrade of the university, the budget was about half Nigeria's budget for the year. And when you think about how a university in UK is spending half of Nigeria's budget, not to rebuild the university, but just to upgrade, then you start wondering how we can even catch up. So take it that the government funding can never, ever be sufficient. So therefore, you call on private sector to be involved, but again, it's very low. There is low private sector involvement or collaboration in actual research for the people, for the country. It's all about making money and shipping that money abroad. We also have inadequate electricity. We can complain that without power, we can't do anything, we can't develop. There is still the challenge of academics not giving the kind of products that they should for the country to grow. So yes, deficits in our academic structure. We have a kind of academic structure that requires engineers, scientists, and so on, go for internships so that they can already start mentoring them on what the world is waiting for. And then that can help tailor their learnings. But the thing about this is that in Nigeria, you send students for internship and all they do is photocopying documents. All they do running errands or sitting down without doing anything, perhaps because there's been no power supply from morning till night. They have little or no industrial experience after the IT. As in the UK, even children go for internships. When I was there, children of the ages of 13, 14 will be sent from secondary school to engineering companies for internship. There, they can already have an idea of what the world needs, the kind of solutions that are important, that are in vogue, and then they can start preparing themselves for the challenge ahead. Finally, in Nigeria, we prefer certificates over the knowledge. Everywhere people go, it's just because they want to become graduates. The number of graduates or the percentage of graduates in Nigeria from universities is perhaps larger than in many other advanced countries where people just are happy to finish with a college degree or even a technical degree. But here in Nigeria, we chase a lot of theory, PhD, masters, and all of that kind of qualification. Too much of theory, little or nothing of how to solve the real problems. And then in all of this, the question is, who is to blame? Government? The people? Who exactly? Now, we could spend all time complaining and blaming the government, but what we need to realize is that what we run is a democracy. Democracy is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. I didn't say government of the people by the few people who are elected. I said by the people. What that means is that if you're one of the people, then you're already one of those in government. The only question is, what is your role? And this is a big question because wherever we are, we have a role to play in the future of this country. If we must deliberately design, implement, and validate what we have done, in other words, in order to engineer the future, we must come with a plan. So it's not enough to complain. It's not enough to complain. Do not just complain, come with a plan of how this country can grow, because already you are part of those in government by being one of the people. There can be nowhere else to call home, and therefore we need to take up that responsibility. Currently, we have a challenge of poverty of ideas. How do we manage ideas? How do we manage our resources? How do we manage the opportunities that are before us? Agreed, there are problems. And in every problem, there lies opportunity. So, being able to, discern the opportunity, take advantage of it, provide a solution, is what a country should be about. Right now, we have many people every day trying to leave this country, wishing for a way to get out of this country illegally. And when they do, most times there is a deficit of intellectuals in this country. Now, if we all know how to manage resources, manage ideas, manage opportunities, it's not a crime to leave this country as long as there is a plan of how we can give back to this country. Not a case where everybody just wants to go. There should be a plan of how we can give back, how we can be where we are and contribute to the growth. And that's one thing the Chinese would always do. In Africa, we need to have that. Our strength is in our numbers, but beyond that, it's in the fact that we have a competitively cheap workforce. So take, for example, you live in the UK, you live in Europe, you work there, yet there are ideas you have and you want to develop. Do you gather engineers in the UK and pay them all of that high minimum wage to develop the idea for you? Or do you develop a team of engineers, send them for training in Nigeria, get them to have the equipment in the laboratory, fund it with your funding from abroad, and you find out that you would achieve even more results than if you were to do that in the UK. That is one advantage that we have. Secondly, we have a largely English-speaking population. Sometimes in Nigeria, where you have project teams, they need to interface with counterparts in other countries. There is no challenge of how to communicate. We can send emails in English, we can speak good English, we can actually try to communicate fluently in their accent. So what that means is that there should be no barrier between having a job done in Africa, in Nigeria, or getting it done for the people in the UK. In Africa, particularly in Nigeria, we can also say that we have less interference from government policy-wise. Although that varies from place to place all over the country. But again, there are still opportunities here for us to advance. You have a cheap taxation policy for startups, and of course, less interference in terms of what you can do and what you cannot do. Unlike in other countries where there are so many things that will limit you as a Nigerian for setting up a business. The population here is also very young, largely, and so it's easy to grow with workers from the scratch. For example, at RAIN, I have been able to employ some really young people from ages 19 and above in a way that I will train them, get them schooled in maybe university, to university level, and still retain them in the office. So that way, they are growing with the company, they are getting practical mentorship and practical experience. Then there is the hugely untapped resources I talked about earlier. We hope it doesn't get to the point where we lose all those natural resources. But while we still can, most of the things we need are here. What we may not have are the equipment to tap them. So for example, you want to build a mobile device, or you want to do something about solar systems. Fine, we do a lot of importation. But how about we begin to import the materials that we would need to build the equipment, rather than the materials we would need to do the end, to make the end product? It's like teaching someone how to fish. rather than just giving them the fish. Our strength also lies in the fact that everyone chases academics. It could be a disadvantage when they value academics over the knowledge, but at the same time, it's a good thing to have a population that is always eager to learn. Before I started this company called RAIN, I did my own feasibility study where I asked a number of people online whether they would be interested in learning robotics and artificial intelligence. If you ask that same question in the UK, you won't get as much people interested in that. Perhaps most people will be interested in learning how to play the guitar than how to learn robotics in the UK. But the good news about the UK is that they help to encourage those who are ready to learn, and they give them all of the opportunities they need. But in Nigeria, we have many people who want to learn the real stuff, but there is nowhere to go. So they told me they were waiting for this, and I brought this. But the only problem is that I brought this and found out that for me to maintain this personally, privately, there will be need for funds. So I had to raise the fee for them so that I could be able to maintain this place to the standard that they would appreciate. Tuition fee in UK, for example, is about 12 million naira in some universities per year. Imagine spending that kind of money in Nigeria, in a high school, in a university in Nigeria. That would help transform that university. But if nobody's going to pay that money and they rather spend it abroad, the quality of education we have here will continue to be low as it is today. So I had to raise the fee because we must grow the standard. And so let me bring this to a close by saying, and this is a discussion section here, how can we intervene? How can you, as Nigerians in diaspora, intervene? Because you are, on a platform or at a vintage point where you can see the whole picture of where the world is heading. You can see the despicable condition of our country. You can see where we may be heading if we don't take proactive steps. And the passion is always there when you're abroad because you just can't see why things are not going the way they should go. So how can you channel all of this energy to bring about a new future for Africa rather than just complaining and hoping for government to get it right? At this point, we have to agree that we are the government. And there is no way government can get it right unless we get it right. The first step is to help to develop practical-oriented academic infrastructure. Look at any community of your choice. Look at the kind of facilities that they have. Does it encourage practical learning? And I'm not talking just about engineering courses or training institutions. I'm talking broadly about every facet of our life. For those who want to learn arts, those who want to learn music, those who learn fashion design, graphics design, those who want to learn medicine, do they actually have practical tools that they can use to become better? We all agree that Nigerians can excel when they see the tools, when they're in the right environment. Look at the environment. Is it conducive for learning? Does it have air conditioning? Do they have access to unlimited internet? It only costs about 180,000 to set up an unlimited broadband internet from any of these telecommunication companies. Only 180,000 to set it up for the first month with unlimited data. Then subsequent months, you just need to pay 50,000 or 80,000 to keep that internet running. If you add that up in a year, it's about 1.2 million. 2,400 pounds of yours, and an institution could boast of internet access round the clock, unlimited. Now, these are the kind of things that you can intervene, these are the kind of ways you can intervene to bring about practical oriented academic infrastructure, where the students can Google to find answers, the lecturers can Google to solve, to learn and then teach better. They can then teach with materials like YouTube and so on. But beyond just providing, there are so many other areas. If you decide to supply materials for the laboratories and so on, these are areas you can intervene. Number two, provision of student scholarships. Many people would love to go to schools that teach well, but unfortunately cannot afford. Majority of those who can afford schools that teach well would eventually afford to travel out of the country, helping other economies abroad to grow. So we are left to run our economy, students who went to schools that pay less and did not teach them well. And at the end, we wonder why the country is going round in circles. But with the idea of scholarships or government funded learning like they do in the UK, schools can be well paid when students pay huge school fees, which do not come from their pockets, but come from the pockets of government or organizations that are helping to invest. And with a bond that requires the student to stay in the country and pay back the loan, they would give back to their country. If we have pockets of scholarships from diasporians who are coming together to say, let's sponsor people in medicine, let's sponsor people in engineering, let's sponsor people in programming, and then you choose which university to put all that fund in, or which technical college to put all that fund in, you can easily check how did they spend all of that high school fees that we funded them with in the form of scholarship. Thirdly, provision of accountable student exchange programs. What do I mean? A student exchange program is where you send some students abroad for exposure. When it happens in Nigeria, except that we don't do it as student exchange, we do that as scholarship to UK, to US, to India, to South Korea. The only problem is that when we give these scholarships, we don't check to make sure that the students actually return home. For example, I got a government scholarship for master's. I'm back home now. But if I did not return home, who was going to ask? I had a colleague in China, from China, studying for master's as well. And I said, what's next? Are you looking for a job? And he said, no, I'm going back to China. It was my company that sponsored me to UK. When I finish, I'm going back there. I have a role to play. Now, what that means is that when you give scholarships to students to have exposure, do you end up asking them to come back? Is there an accountability rating that makes them have, want to come back? Do you give loans without asking for it back? If the answer is no, then do you give scholarships without asking for a return into the system to help? Now, the challenge with that is that nobody is here to suffer. If government gives me a scholarship to go abroad and I return home and I don't get a job because government does not send any message, government doesn't, like the question will be, did they send you? You come back home, there's nothing. Who's going to, So normally no one wants to come back home unless there's accountability on both sides. Accountability on the part of the student who comes back home after learning, and accountability on the part of the sponsorer who makes sure that there is something worthwhile to do when you return home. Now, that cannot come from government as it is today. It can only come from interested parties like yourselves that can create an accountable student exchange program. Number 4, we need to learn how to ease accessibility to equipment for production. Enough of just easing education. I decided to come back to Nigeria deliberately for robotics, to develop people in robotics. Because when I went on my research, I found out that we do teach people robotics in Nigeria, yes. Back in those days, before I came to Nigeria, yes, there were trainings for people in robotics. But would you ask me who we're training? We're training kindergartens, nursery schools on how to build Lego robots. And for me, that was nonsense. Are we training people to build robots and then we train kids instead of adults? And then when they finish from nursery school, they go into university and they don't find it in the curriculum? And that's the end? Are we calling that a child's play? The real world is out there building robots, and we are here teaching 4-year-olds how to build robots as if that's the solution. So I felt, no, the chain must carry on. Fine, you can teach kids, but when they graduate or when they're mature enough to learn the real stuff, I want to teach them how to design in 3D, how to print in 3D, how to design circuit diagrams, how to develop embedded systems, how to code for control systems, how to develop mobile robots like drones, how to build smart systems like Internet of Things, and finally, how to implement AI that the world really needs today. So when we provide that kind of chain process for learning, it must end in production. The next step will be, what then do they do when they finish? We need several incubation hubs. We need several maker spaces. We need several places where people can go to finish what they need, what they have designed. In Nigeria today, go and find out, when you want to make a prototype, you need plastic molding or injection molding. Where would you find that in Nigeria today? We have to send it to China. If we could come together and say, let us all together set up an injection molding unit somewhere in Lagos, somewhere in Ibadan, let's donate a system like that so that Nigerians can do it in their country, then we are helping the country to grow. Government would only say, well done. If government is not going to do it, the people can do it. And if government does it, it would not be maintained. But when the people do it, the people would maintain it. Number 5, before I wrap it all up, encouraging development and use of homegrown solutions will do us good. So let's say we decide to produce eventually from helping our infrastructure. The next question will be, are we going to buy what we make, or are we still going to prefer imported goods? Now, this is a big problem, and I think we all need to discuss it. When you return from abroad for holiday, people tell you, what did you bring for me from UK? But when you go to UK to meet your family again, do they really say, what did you bring for me from Nigeria? Do we not agree that we need to start encouraging our own local production? I'll give you an example. When I was in the UK, and one time ago, I saw poundo yam in a supermarket. I was like, wow, these people are now importing yam from Africa. Thank God for that. And then I checked the back where it displayed the ingredients, and I saw Irish potato. And I was like, hold on, wait a minute. Irish potato as ingredients for poundo yam? I would have thought they had at least started buying yam from us. So I, in Nigeria, I'm here in the UK, buying my favorite poundo yam, not made from my country's yam, but still with the UK's Irish potato. If we, the people, do not make sure that we patronize our own, even those abroad would not patronize ours. We must encourage homegrown solutions, both the development and the use of them. Take, for example, mobile phones in Nigeria today. I'm aware that they have just started producing one. I haven't seen it myself. But take, for example, somebody in the UK decides to buy it and sell. Would that make the UK people love it and want to buy more? You can try. But at least let's begin to send projects down home. Like there's a UK energy company owned by a Nigerian that sends to RAIN, that's my company, the engineering problem for us to solve for them. For the owner of this company, it was a thing of pride to get it done in Africa, in Nigeria. So he can, not because there are no other countries that can do it, but so that he can proudly tell his colleagues who are not Africans that I got this made in Africa, and that's going to be our technical base going forward. The reason is that when the world finds itself in a crisis like the last time of the COVID lockdown, and every continent has to produce what it's going to need, we won't be able to import. Expatriates would leave. We'll be left with the handwork that we have engineered. So, in conclusion, what do we need to give the people? The people want food. The people want security. The people want transportation. The people want medicals. The people want jobs. These are all what the people want. And if we can secure this through intervention from all resources we have, then the future of Black Africa is secured. Thank you very much for listening, and have a lovely day.
Wow, that was amazing. That was fantastic. Thank you so, so much. Thank you. That was really wonderful. There are loads of questions, I'm sure, from everyone. And I would like to call on our Dr. Popola to run through this quick Q&A session. So over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think
Thank
this
you
is
very
a
much.
bit bigger than me, sir. So I thought you should you should
No,
run through it.
no,
It's so
not.
thought-provoking. So please,
No,
over to you.
thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you, Dr. Ayola, for this amazing presentation. I can tell you, half of us on this forum or this room at the moment are expecting to see some equations, some robotics flying from where to nowhere and showing us all kind of gadgets. That's what we came into the room to see. But you've turned around. You've taken us to the back end of these so-called robots, of this AI. When I speak to people about AI, you people, you're not going to give me a job in 10 years' time. You want to replace me and all that. You basically bring it down to her. But it is not all about that. It's what makes those things that will be used to solve our problem in the future. If you could start looking at it now and start implementing it and start training people to start thinking the way you just described, then our life is easy. Why do you have to go through Europe to get things from China, for example? You know, why do you have to go through all that to make sure that, you get checked acceptable before it then come to us? And as you rightly said, we have all the language in the world. We could understand everything. So why can't things come directly to us? Or why can't we develop things? When I was growing up, they used to have something called Igbo made. And my parents said, no, don't go and buy Igbo made. I said, but that's done here on the ground. Why shouldn't I buy? Why should I have to wait for weeks to get things imported from? And I was young at this point when I was thinking like this. And people are still thinking like that too. We don't buy our own product. We don't support our own industry. We like to bring things. I remember give you a story. I was coming from Nigeria, from London to Nigeria, and at the airport, I bought 2 bottles of peanuts. Okay, I got it back home on the table, and my friend, until they finished eating. Then I told them this peanut was bought in Lagos, right at the airport. They won't believe me. They said, no, it's not, it doesn't taste like this Lagos one, that this must be from London. So this perception we have to start changing it. Anyway, enough of my story. Let's get down to business. Yeah, I've seen some people already put a question on the chat. Thank you very much for that. And if you want to ask question, please, the best thing is to raise up your hand and I will call you. But before that, I see Mrs. Adenike Amiaka. It's not Adenike. I'll just call Nike. Nike Amiaka, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Ayola, for a very insightful and informative presentation. I love your presentation slides as well. The question I put up earlier was that, how do you get your funding? Because you said you put in your own personal money, but since then, what have you been doing for funding?
Okay, thank you very much. Should I answer the questions one at a time? Or
Yes, please. Yes, please.
All right. So funding so far at the beginning was from private pocket, but then I had to decide very quickly how we are going to keep running. So I knew that you can't depend on government for funding because they have their own priorities. So what I decided to do was to then, of course, we have a training program that we run. So we have 9 months program like robot development and automation and AI with machine learning. These are two cardinal programs that we run. So we make our money from the fees that we charge the trainees. They pay 1.25 million for the training, and then in a class, like we admit 3 times a year. So each time we admit, we could admit up to 12 people. So that means that in a year we could have about 30 students. If each person pays completely, I know some people at the end of the day can't afford to pay, so they're just taking out because we allow them to pay in installment. But then if everybody pays completely, then that's about 30 million naira to keep the facility running the generating set, paying the minimum salaries, and trying to keep the facility optimal. But then in trying to expand, that's where the big challenge is, because if we are going to expand, then there is need for a lot more resources like money and so on. But in that case now, we are hoping for support from well-meaning Nigerians. So what we have done is that we have set up a kind of crowdfunding, which is on our website. But then there's also the aspect of investors want to come in. But a company like this is still very young. And one time, an investor wanted to partner at the very early stage where we could do anything for 5 million naira back then, and he wanted to bring 5 million naira in exchange for half or something, even though I had spent that building this place up. But then the truth is that for some people, it's for political gains, wanting to say, yes, I'm the owner of this place, or I've done this for the people. But most times what happens is that if it's for political gain, it will not be sustainable. When another government comes in, they try to frustrate whoever they thought is using that for their own advantage. So what we kind of need will be support from people who are very neutral, who are very professional, and want, share the mission of this, which is to develop the workforce for Africans. So in a nutshell, we are looking for support to grow.
Thank you very much. You've answered a couple of other questions. We're saying, do you get your funding through the government at all? Do you partner with people? So those guys, your question, I believe, has been answered. The next question, I would like to call the next person. I can't see their name. They've used a studio name, TechnoSpark. Please, it would be nice for you to put your proper name on this so that we can address you properly. So TechnoSpark 4, can you please unmute yourself and ask your question? Nike, can you please lower your hand as well, unless you have another question to ask?
Yes, I have one question.
One second, Nike, let Techno speak first.
Okay, thank you, sir, for the wonderful presentation. I've posted my question initially on the chat section.
Before you go, what's your name, please?
My name is Asugwa Christian, a legal student of University of Nigeria, Nsukka. Okay. So my question actually was, do RAIN offer IT placements for student engineers?
All right, thank you. Yes, RAIN does offer IT, but considering that we have students who come here for the 9-month program, spend 1.25 million trying to get access to all of our resources, when students come for IT, we feel that they're also coming to learn. So we cannot now make IT to be free of charge while people are also paying 1.25 for the same facility. So for that reason, IT students that come to RAIN also have to pay. It's sad, but it's not the first time it will be happening. There are several other engineering laboratories or workshops in Nigeria where people actually pay. Even to be an apprentice under a welder, sometimes you even have to pay them. So for the Nigerian student, why should we pay for IT? It's supposed to be free. But then it's only going to be free when you are helping them to make tea and just go on errands or something like that. For example, I did my IT at Shell Petroleum, my 6 months IT, and I was paid a lot. It made me think that, well, I had everything the industry already needed. So I'm even being paid for IT. not realizing that I should still keep learning, and at every opportunity as a student, you should want to pay and learn. So, but I had a friend who went to another place where he actually paid to learn, and he took it very much more serious. So I think in our own case, IT is not free, and people need to decide when they're coming to learn that they're actually coming to learn, and they need to pay a little more for that.
Thank you very much for that answer. Nike, you have something else to say quickly?
Yeah, my second question was, you talked about robotics control systems. I just wonder, do you consider safety or what we call human factors in your design? Or is most of your design just programming? Or are you actually building anything?
Yes, thank you very much, Nika. Now, when it comes to engineering, safety is the key word. Everything, and that starts from the point of design. We don't just do programming, we actually do product design, product development, we make it. Although what we make is the prototype, which means that when it's fine, then they can actually get the real thing done in China as it is today. So, but in the design, safety is considered. Safety in terms of the user experience, safety in terms of the technical aspect. Can it do what it's meant to do? Take, for example, a project that we are going to be starting just in a couple of weeks. It's a waste, we call it Wasteroid. It's a robot waste collection device equipment that actually follows a waste collector. So whenever he's collecting, he's putting into it, but the thing is just following him and is able to understand his environment. Now, that particular device, you have to consider what kind of material are we going to use, so it's not going to cause any electrocution, or no matter what. How can we make it such that it doesn't, like cause any body harm when it hits somebody? Because of course anything can go wrong in any kind of operation. So if it's a robot, it might get out of hand, hit someone, hope there's no sharp object, hope there are no exposed rotors. The main concern now is in the drone technology that we are also very big on. So when you make drones, you need to make sure that, number one, you're not flying the drone indoor. And if it's going to be indoor, are there sensors that will make sure that it doesn't try to even work when anybody's trying to fly it indoors? So those are things we put into consideration. And also the blades, what are they made of, such that when they spin out, they don't really cause bodily harm by itself. So all of these factors we put into consideration. We also train people on how to consider safety in their designs.
Which tools do you use? Do you do like hazard identification workshops or hazard workshops? What tools do you use in design safety? Are there any, or is it just a checklist of let's look at the materials, let's look at how it's going to harm people, or do you use a structured method?
So because we are not very big, I would say the one you mentioned in terms of tools, we haven't reached that point yet. So what we have that we're working with are like checklists, like like you rightly said, pointed out, checklist of what to consider, and that's already part of the things we discussed in the class. But we don't have a kind of workshop that does all that checking for us.
Right. Thank you. I know where Nika is going here. I think this is going to be a long conversation. Nika,
Sorry.
don't mind. I will connect you, or we will connect you with Olushola, so that this conversation goes on. Nika is a safety expert in chemical engineering, but obviously application in other areas as well. And I could see synergy, right, between RAINS and what Nika does. So
very important. That would be a huge selling point for us eventually.
Yeah,
when we
let's continue that conversation in the background. Following that, actually, in addition to that, we've got a group of young guys here that are doing something very similar to what you're doing. But what they do, they go into schools and teach kids. I started this 2 years ago, but they're even doing it much better than I do. And one of them is here called Kayode Ishola, Kids Tech. Kayode, please, you can't, I'm sure he's been chatting up with me that he can't wait to meet you. If you're based in Ibadan, they also have their little workshop in Ibadan as well. It would be nice for the two organizations to actually do something together. Kayode, if you're on board, can you unmute yourself and speak, please?
Thank you, Doctor, for the opportunity. And I must say I really followed through well the presentation of the doctor. Is really insightful. And one thing that actually struck me in that presentation is the fact that you had everything it takes to actually stay in the UK and get the opportunity not to come back to Nigeria as many people would have done, but you came down to Nigeria to actually start something and get things in place. It's very commendable. So robotics it's one of those fields that we need to really adopt quickly in Africa. But I really want to say something about the comment you made about schools in Nigeria, particularly private schools that teach their kids the Lego robotics and all of that. I just feel they are trying to stimulate the interest of those kids about going into technology, particularly robotics. Thank God that you rightly have a robotics center here in Ibadan, and I understand what it takes to actually set that kind of stuff up. So, and how to even let alone managing it. So, I think they are, like rightly said, there should be more of collaborations between individuals or apart from government, because of course they have their priorities, like you rightly said. So my team at Kids Tech Africa, what we do is to help kids leverage on the opportunities in the technology world by bringing them early on into technology. We started in 2019 and currently we are in 2 cities, Ilorin in Kwara State and Ibadan, Nigeria. In fact, our Ibadan program should have ended today because it's a 12 weeks program, because of the June 12th, whatever, we have to postpone it till next week. So we'll be delighted to actually meet you and see possible areas of collaboration moving ahead.
Right.
Oh, great.
Thank you very much, Kayode. As I've said before, this group here, they're dynamic. I've seen them at work. I've donated 12 computers to them. I'll give them a projector last month, fancy projector that Imperial College gave me, or what, about £3,000. So please connect with these guys. They're really, really good. Okay.
I can't wait to get mine.
Right. Okay. We'll send your information to them later on. Right. There are 2 other big guns in the house that desperately wanted to ask questions. Let me start with Engineer Shinedu, Vice Chairman.
Yes. Thank you very, very much. My simple question is, what is RAIN's business model? Because you seem to want to disconnect yourself as a company from government or relying on government. And in my mind, you come across like a company that wants to become a Google or a Facebook or some technology giant, or I don't know. It's so I've mentioned a number of things, but I think my question is your business model beyond Nigeria, and what is your business model?
Thank you very much, Engineer Chinedu. Yes, you're very correct saying that we are trying to disconnect the company RAIN from the Nigerian government, but in a sense, because we are trying to disconnect let me say, the funding from government, but at the end of the day, the end product will still eventually be benefited by government. Not that we are going to be looking for contracts. That's the big thing when people chase contracts from government, and then that can actually be, frustrating sometimes. We are not trying to give government what they want. We're not trying to do what government wants. We're trying to do what the world needs. And that's why when people say robotics in Nigeria, who needs that? Somebody in government was once saying to me that in Nigeria, do we build robots? Do we even need robots? And I said, well, I'm not dealing with Nigeria as a market. It's a global market. So a company abroad is looking for an AI expert globally that can solve a problem. And then they find out that, oh, there is one in Nigeria. All right, throw the problem to them and let's see if they can solve it. That's the idea. Let's be there for that. Andela, for example, is in Nigeria and gets a lot of contract jobs from other places in the world, not necessarily government. So I want RAIN, the model is to build RAIN to a point where even government in Nigeria would be just one customer, while you have governments in all other countries also applying for, wanting you to do a job for them. And most importantly, it should be people-oriented. Projects that even the people can just buy from you directly. Facebook, for example, was not a government thing. Facebook was a thing where people directly just get, you just get what you need from Facebook. And then now governments will now be the ones to say, can we open an account on Facebook so we can tell the people what they want? Because the people are already there. So if you provide a platform where the people use or where the people are on, then government would have to follow the people to address what the people want. And that's why Twitter is facing what it's facing today, because the entire population is on Twitter. So the model to sustain that dream is to have, first of all, funding that is not tied to government, funding from the people. A business model where the people can just donate or invest or buy from. So when the people buy things from RAIN, we can make some money and put that back into the business. And whatever we are trying to sell will not only be sold within Nigeria, but even outside Nigeria. So already the kind of impact that we are making by providing solutions, particularly in the area of security, we're trying to make the government deploy that solution, but already other foreign organizations, I mean like international, like NGOs, United States, United Kingdom, nations, are already keying, wanting to see how they can develop that solution. And that I think is a lot bigger than just one government. But most importantly, because it's in Nigeria, we expect the government to be major stakeholders in trying to create that enabling environment, not by funding, but by encouragement.
Okay, this leads me to my quarter question, sir, if you would allow me. So do you now extend? Do you see yourselves extending your services to, say, the Nigerian Army and deploying, robotics in our, military operations, or do you also see the company as directly impacting on industrial development, like maybe in the mass production of, one would imagine robotics will be applied for mass production of cars if we produce cars or things like that. So where is your focus when it comes to supporting the local market, and what is your local market within Nigeria? You talked about your global market and how you see things globally. What's your local market?
Sorry, can you just come again with your question? I'm sorry, I was
okay. No, sorry. So the very quick question is, what's your local market? Do you see yourselves supporting, say, the Nigerian military with your robotics skills, and have you gained any collaboration with them? Secondly, do you support local industrial development? Because I'm a layman in this aspect, but I would imagine that robotics will be applied or needed in, say, for instance, automobile production, etc. And how far have you gone with that? So my question really is around your local market. What is your local market within Nigeria?
Okay, thank you. Perfect. Now, local market in Nigeria is basically every R&D department of major companies. R&D, so every research and development organization, department in every organization that deals with new products, breaking into a new market, because AI and robotics is the new market. So what I'm trying to say is this: we're not focusing on just the army. In fact, we are not even trying to focus on the army. We are focusing on security as a problem generally. And every aspect of security, whether it's national security or home security, personal body security, we are into that. Now, we are not into making one product, but we are into helping companies that want to make that one product to develop the prototype and the solution. So let's say with everything we are doing now, a company that does like a security company that produces maybe scanning devices for metals and all of that, decides to come to us and say, hey, I've seen what you guys have been doing. I have a project. Can you make a device that can scan people that pass without them even knowing, or something like that? But we can say, all right, that's going to fall under aspect. And then we provide that solution to them. We have an IP, so we share in the profits from that solution. We're not going to be producers of that device, otherwise we're going to be very overwhelmed very quickly. So as it is today, we have something for logistics. So many drone companies now are coming to us because what they usually do is that they usually import drones. And they don't only import drones, they import the experts and fly the drones. That's the funny thing, the oil and gas security companies. So they've now come to range saying that, hey, I can see you guys do drones. Do you have experts that can fly the drones? Do you have experts that can develop solutions like graphic user interface for different kinds of sensing and pictures and all that? And then we say, yes. So they say, okay, do that for us. So that's one market, security. Then medicals, we've got people from National Orthopedic Hospital, Lagos, that have said people that have no limbs need to buy prosthetics. But then the prosthetics that are passive cost about 150,000, while the prosthetics that are active, which means you can actually use it to lift things, cost about 1 million naira. Now they were saying, can we produce that so that it can be cheaper or something? Well, unfortunately, we haven't helped them because it needs funding, and we don't know how we're going to do that because it's a bit, it's going to need some funding anyway. So that's one area that hasn't been touched. And then also education. During the lockdown, when all classes had to be virtual, we developed a solution, even though we didn't mass produce it, but it was a solution where teachers can actually teach with a camera on top, showing the students on Zoom everything the teacher is writing. Like a marker board, you can write paper, you can actually write on with marker. But then these are solutions that we like, it's, okay, I get how best to explain this now. There is a company in US called IDEO, IDEO.
Yeah, design thinking.
Yes, thank you. So, and in this case, any idea that an R&D comes and says, can you do this for us? Yeah, we can do this. I'll give it to you. Go and develop it in China. It's okay by you. But we are not going to remain the only producers of that thing. So that way we have intellectual property and a kind of share ratio in all of these different products.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. The next question, maybe the final question as well. I'll see if anybody else have raised up their hand. Techno, you need to put your hands down. Engineer Moses, our oil and gas expert.
Thank you, Dr. P. Thank you, Dr. Ayola, for the presentation. I ask a side question, but that's not my main question because you seem to be, you talked a lot about government funding. I have to apologize. I'm not a fan of government because most of my experience is private sector. So I wanted to ask one question. How do you currently interact with the government and the private sector to achieve some of the goals you stated during your presentation? But more importantly to me, I would think that if a company like yours is working on AI-driven technology like robotics, I think it's probably just, you shouldn't be struggling for funding. It should be easy for you to maybe do an elevator pitch and put out your technology out there. Because the world is a global village, people will want to see how well, say for example, the drones you make in Nigeria comply with international standard, because you can't run away from it. I know a lady asked a question about safety. So if I had a problem I'm trying to solve, even in the Nigerian environment, and I wanted to deploy the drone technology or robotics, I will still be interested to know that the drone that I get from Nigeria is just as safe as the one from outside. And then if the differentiator now becomes the pricing, then it's not difficult for me to choose the technology developed in Nigeria, because I understand why technology developed in Nigeria may be cheaper, because the labor force is cheap. So that's just my question and comment.
Thank you very much. That's very correct. We have to make sure that whatever we're doing is up to the standard of, the global standard, and that's very important. We try to do that, but most importantly, to be great with this kind of interaction. Speaking directly with those of you in the diaspora, it's going to be easier for us to then make sure that we are, rightly guided. On the aspect of private sector collaboration, it's key for us, and that's already happening, where companies that do, for example, geospatial intelligence companies are already wanting to collaborate because they are big on that already. So what we can then do is support them with areas that we think we have expertise in terms of AI, for example, maybe for computer vision to interpret images, so it's getting from from their drone or something. There are collaborations in other areas as well, particularly the educational, where companies want us to support them in providing materials for their kids to learn. And other, this kind of partnerships at a point, like with what I'm saying now, this kind of partnerships do not really pay us because everybody is basically trying to grow. So they see us as equal company. So they feel like, I mean, you shouldn't be trying to take from us. Let's just work together. You know, I've seen a case where a company said, let's just do it together and whatever comes from it, we share it. But then when we have 100 of these people saying, let's do it together and whatever comes from it, we share it, then that overstretches our capacity, proposal writing. And then for that reason, we've had to say, for us to write a proposal, I think you'd have to pay something because we are kind of doing secretarial work now for 100 companies at the same time. And then for them, it's like difficult. So by and large, it will be a lot better if in that private partnership, companies are willing to support RAIN, see RAIN as a junior brother rather than another big company that should be able to fund for themselves. Like many times people say, can you come to Lagos? Can you come here? And then I'm thinking, well, I've just been to Lagos last week. Now going again this week for discussion when it's not like I have a bag of transportation allowances to pull out from, makes it a lot difficult. So I would love if the private sector's intervention can be in a way that they lift us up, considering that we haven't got so much, rather than expecting that we have a lot of money to also push for the kind of goals that we're all chasing. So we are basically struggling to meet up with the huge demand for partnerships from every private sector.
Dr. P, let me just conclude by let me just clarify the point I'm trying to make. I'm trying to say that I think Dr. P and Chinedu on UK basically would have heard about Dragon's Den, for example. So if you're into robotics, what is the challenge in, for example, in being forward thinking and saying, I want to make some robots that I can commercialize? Because I don't think a businessman cares where a robot is developed, as long as the robot will do the job. And like the point I'm trying to make, you alluded to the fact that we have a big market. And I think if you'll be competitive, if you make maybe an elevator pitch like presenting and saying, this is what I can do. So maybe I can talk to you behind the scene, but I'm just thinking about, rather than thinking about getting funding, why not try to commercialize your products in such a way that investors can have some percentage of the business, if you are not selfish or greedy. Anyway.
That's true. I understand your question, and that's correct.
Yeah.
That's very good. Thank you. We've already been getting some query as to people who want to invest. So Olushola, you're in a big business here. I've already got 2 people that said they would like to invest in your company or partner with you. So we'll be connecting them. I've already connected one. I will connect the other one very soon. So thank you very much. I think that's going to be the end of the question. There's one question from I think it's Francis asking, is your course accredited or not? You need to unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yes, we can hear you. Go on, Francis.
Oh, hello. Okay, thank you. Dr. Ayola, thank you very much for your presentation. Much appreciated. Well, my question actually follows on from the last one. Is just trying to find out if your courses are accredited or affiliated to any other professional body. I mean, these are what people will be looking at in terms of investors, if I may use the word. They want to know more about your company, and do you have a website address one could also have a look at and see what you have?
Website address on the chat already, www.rainnigeria.com.
Yes, www.rainigeria.com. And to answer your question, Francis, it's important to be accredited, to be affiliated as well. And so far, we've been affiliated, we are affiliated to Nigerian Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers and the Ibadan branch of Nigerian Society of engineers, but what we should be looking for now is the accreditation by the IEEE global body, and that's something that is already in the pipeline. But globally, in terms
I think that's true. If you are going to go global and you want everybody to buy into your product from outside, then you need to go global, not just stick to Nigerian bodies, if you know what I mean. I mean, most of these other guys in China or whatever, they're all affiliated to the international bodies, which is what you should be doing as well, I believe.
That's correct. That's what we will be doing. So that's, let me just say, that's the next level for us.
Okay. we will be keeping an eye out for you. So, you know, good luck. I think you've got a very good business there, which I believe can go places, provided, you know, all the other important issues, such as those asked by the previous questionnaire. All those things are put in place. Don't just tie everything into Nigeria, but you need to be looking at what's happening out there and what they will need.
Okay, thank you very much, Engineer Francis.
Thank you.
It says another one there, what about demonstration of the product? I don't know about that one. Let me pass you back on to my chairman, but there's one thing we need to do after this chairman speaks and encourage you to join the London branch, where we have a regular membership introduction, people who have just gone through the NSE interview and they've been approved as a member of Nigerian Engineer. We have one of them here today. We need to do the official handover of his certificate to him. So, Chairman, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. P. I think you can just do that. Then I can more or less kind of round up with a vote of thanks, and then we can look at what we have next coming up in the next couple of weeks.
The young man is not on board yet, but I would like to introduce another young man that is doing work in this area. I love to connect people. I've just seen him on board now. Tosin Afolayan is got a computer AI, whatever you want to call it, based in Lagos, and he's been doing some fantastic work. I just want to see if he's on board or to unmute himself and say something to see how Kids Tech, Tosin, and Olushola could really come together. And it's not just people coming into your facility to pay 2.5 million. What can you do to impact youth or people from disadvantaged community to actually, you know, try to get them to understand this thing? Tosin, please.
Okay, asking me what we can do to impact people from less privileged communities?
That's right, yeah.
Okay, so first of all, scholarship. Scholarship, because I can tell you for a fact, in every 100 applications to RAIN, 70 of them really desperately want to learn but cannot afford the fees. They cannot afford it. Many of them have uncles or relations that can actually sponsor them, but many more cannot afford it. So what we try to do is to see if we can give scholarships. But then the last time we gave scholarship was to someone who achieved the first class in his undergrad and really needed to learn such program. But then we've not given scholarships ever since then, because we really need to to fund this program. But the good thing is that later on today, I'll be having a meeting with a Nigerian in the US who has said he would like to sponsor 2 people from his own community. If I can look for them, he's going to provide a scholarship for them. Although he was biased to say that the father and mother must also be from that community. So that's going to be a very difficult one. But at least someone is trying to help the less privileged. And my problem is this: when people say, give scholarships out, try. And I'm saying, well, I would prefer if somebody gives scholarship to RAIN, for people to come to RAIN, than for me to give scholarship. Otherwise, how am I going to power the generator? How am I going to have things running if I'm always into charitable? So that's one. Secondly, to impact the less privileged, we have projects that we are doing. For example, one of our trainees did a project on computer vision for the blind. Now, we're not saying that the blind will be able to see, but we are saying that the computer vision would help to picturize what's in front of the blind person and convert everything to identified objects, identified activities, and narrate the story to the person. So wherever he faces, it tells him, in front of you are two people, one sitting, one standing, one is so-so person, if you can identify the face. Now, that's a solution that at the end, the poor, the real blind people may not be able to afford. But with organizations that care about the blind, they can then purchase this to those who really need it. So in various ways, we are hoping that our solutions would touch the less privileged.
Right, thank you very much for that. I can't see any other question on the chat. I think everybody's lowered their hands down because they're satisfied with your questions. Engineer Shinedu Nwaoma, can you put your screen, your camera on as well as your voice so that we could see you and project you on the screen for everybody else to see? Engineer Shinedu had his interview with the Nigerian Society of Engineers a couple of months ago. I think it was February, if not earlier than that. And when I was in Nigeria, I was able to pick up his certificate. So today we're officially giving his certificate to him so that he could show us that he has received his certificate, and many more like that are currently becoming member of London branch as well as the headquarters in Nigeria. So Engineer Shinedu, can you please identify yourself? I know you're there somewhere. Right, okay.
Yes, I'm here.
Your video is
Can
there.
you hear me?
Everybody see him. If you pan into the list of people, you should be able to see him and the video.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm here.
So the person that we have in front of you to give you this certificate, is the person there with you? Let me see. 1 second. Just give me a second.
That's fine.
Where you are.
Okay.
All right.
Are you okay now?
Yeah. Okay. So this is Engineer Shinedu Nwaoma. Today, the 12th of June, 2021, on behalf of Nigerian Society of Engineers, we're giving you your certificate of membership to Nigerian Society of Engineers, and also as a member of London branch. So congratulations. Please join me in congratulating him for being a member, a full-fledged member of Nigerian Society of Engineers, and he has paid up, and he promised us that he will continue to pay off his due. So congratulations, Engineer Shinedu.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There you go. That's his picture. Show your certificate again. Yeah, that's his authentic certificate, all the way from Abuja, first class.
Yeah, and just to correct one thing, I got elected by June last year, not February.
Oh, is it? Okay, sorry about that. Yeah.
So the certificate is 1 year late. I can see your efficiency, NSE efficiency. It's 1 year late.
Yeah.
Thank you for pointing that one out.
Yeah.
The problem with that is that, yes, that certificate was available. I can tell you, it was available towards the end of last year, but because there was nobody have traveled to collect it, they just won't give it to anyone. It has to be a representative of Nigerian Society London branch, and that's why it wasn't being delayed. So we're really sorry for that on their behalf. It wasn't that much inefficiency. It's the COVID that is causing this problem.
I understood. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Right, Chairman, it's back to you now.
Oh, thank you very much for that. Also, I would like to before I even say thank you to Dr. Ayola, I would like to call on Engineer Kukobasi as well. Are you there, Engineer Kukobasi?
Hey, I'm here.
Well,
good evening, everyone.
yeah, he has also completed his NSE for this year. Is that not right? Yeah. Yeah. So we are waiting his certificate from from NSE headquarters. I hope yours will not take 2 years. Don't worry, we will get it eventually. We have been writing letters to them. Definitely, it's due to the fact that they don't have anyone bringing all these things from Nigeria.
Each one was approved at the last council meeting, which I was,
yes,
where they kicked me out. That was where his membership was approved. So hopefully, the next couple of months, the certificate.
Exactly. But I can confirm that Engineer Bassi has got his letter of accreditation already, so he's happy with that. So welcome on board. And also, it is a full-fledged member of the London branch as it is. We really appreciate your participation. But what I want to say to the new entrants is the fact that Engineer Chinedu, Engineer Bassi, we are not here in London branch to warm the bench. I'm a straight talker. I don't mess around with words. I'm not a politician. I will say it straight to your face. So you have not come here just because you have got your certificate and then boom, you jump ship. We want you to participate in bringing it back to where you want it to be and bringing ideas to this branch. You know, this is time for you to give back what you have been able to learn. And I want, by the grace of God, in the next few years, both of you will be taking active part in what the branch is doing, impacting Nigeria, just like as Dr. Ayola has just done. And that's the most important thing. So we need to be serious with ourselves. It's not to warm the bench. It's not to come and be a sub. It's supposed to be a key player. And we are welcome on board. And we believe definitely, yeah, we can do a lot together. And going to what Dr. Ayola has just given, that was a wonderful one. And you have really kind of ignited the passion in me about tapping into Nigeria. I mean, I've spoken to you about how many times now have we spoken, Dr. Ayola? I don't know. We've spoken. In fact, this afternoon we even spoke before you came on board. And I can see the enthusiasm in you. And I really want to just thank you for taking time. He's a very, very busy man. Yesterday night he was on, what was he on Channels TV? Were you yesterday or so? Yeah. And this afternoon he's meeting with somebody again. It was with BBC last week, right? You were with BBC interview. This guy has gone places. I mean, I don't know. He's just a humble person, so you don't see him making noise and jumping up and down the place. But he's gone places. And one thing I just want to add to you is the fact that there's a case of security in Nigeria now. What is RAIN doing about securing our property with AI? I mean, did you have anything in plan in terms of maybe ultrasound detectors that can trigger something, I mean, for security? What can you say about that, Dr. Ayola?
Okay, for security, we have one for national, we have one for home security. One for home security, we are already discussing with several groups, what I mean by group, ethnic groups. So you have the Southwestern and so on, about how homes can be secured. Now, there's one we call the wireless perimeter fencing. It's a solution that means nobody can cross a particular invisible fence without it alerting you or taking any action you've designed it to take. Now, it's based on infrared technology. So there's a sender and a receiver, and that continues around the house. So anybody crosses that and it doesn't allow the receiver to receive, the next sender would not send, and that's the end of the loop till action is taken. Now, the action is just to alert you, then you know that someone has really
encroached. Yeah.
Yes. And what you want to do in that case, so you could decide to just stand an alarm or put a light on, or maybe to fire a kind of well, I wouldn't talk about that one now, but several, depending on how insecure you feel, the kind of threat level. If it's in the war front, for example, soldiers who don't want to be ambushed, they can decide what kind of ammunition to discharge at that point. Now, but that's for home security. For national is the aspect of drones, carbon emission tracking drones. And that one is already being discussed with government. It needs to be raised to the standard of military, the military capacity for what it needs to do. So that's still in discussion. So soon there'll be a demonstration at that level. So we are kind of supporting government as much as security is concerned.
Thank you very much. I brought that one up because I invited one of my friends. I mean, he's a big boy. He's a very big player in properties. And I told him about something like this. And they said, oh, he said one of these. He said he won't be around today, but he's going to get in touch with you. But his own mind was that he was going to look at getting a robot that will be running about with gun around his house, exterminate. I said, no, we don't have that kind of time yet. So, but I will mention it that. And I know definitely you have something like that because I read your bio that you have some things in place for drone technology with the powers that be. And these are things that you are even looking at, even exporting to West African countries. Is that not true? Yeah?
Yes, that's correct. It's
exactly.
very easy.
That's it.
Safety.
Yeah. Lastly, so that we go to the next one. Lastly, I want to say, Dr. Yola, thank you very much. But this is not the end of it. It's not a matter of just giving us the webinar and then we go off like that. Please keep in touch with us. Let us know what we can do to support your cause. Is everybody on the line? I mean, agreeing with me on that. Let us know exactly what we can do, what expertise you need that definitely we can, what gaps are available that you think we in diaspora definitely can plug. If we can plug those gaps, we are ready to signpost you to see how you can get things done over there. And then number two, you've been here before in Manchester, definitely. There might be some few things you want us to kind of do for you to support that while you are away. That will save you time and cost of traveling. Give us a shot. So London branch is always available for you to touch base on that. And we look more to having you around with us some other time. Thank you so much for taking your time. Yes, Engineer Wama, are you raising up your hand, please?
Yes, I'm raising my hand to introduce myself fully.
Okay.
I don't know whether the time permits because this is a webinar presented by someone else. But if you permit me, I would like to say some words.
How long will that take?
I don't know, maybe a few minutes.
I have asked him.
Well, the Nigerian says few minutes. Go and put water on the fire. Okay, go on, sir. You have 2 minutes, sir.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Thank you. Thank you for introducing me or bringing me. I just want to say a few things about myself with regards to the reason why I joined this body.
Okay.
Yeah. I joined the NSE. I also joined Korean. As you just mentioned earlier, to fill the gaps in the terms of technology expertise requires back home. Okay. I've been having the burning fire to find a way how to help develop the engineering and technology back home. And I was hoping that these platforms will enable me fill the gap. I've been in UK here, well across Europe for many years, professionally as an engineer. I specialize in the area of electronics control, instrumentation, engineering, with artificial intelligence.
Wow.
And I specialize in research and development. So I work across industries, across Europe, military, defense, nuclear, oil and gas, MOD.
Okay, we know that, Engineer Wama. You know what? After the webinar, we're going to have a time to catch up, and then we can more or less kind of maybe do it on an informal basis. That's okay.
No, it's not about informal basis. If there's anyone here that's looking for information that can help him do what he wants to do in terms of electricity concern, control systems, artificial intelligence, feel free to contact me, and I'm very much happy to point you in the right direction or give you information you requested.
What I meant by just say we chat once we finish the webinar. I need to have a chat with you on that. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
You're
right. We're rounding up, but we need to let us know what other events we have coming up. Can you see my screen? Yes, our sister brand, Glasgow branch, they are inviting us to their scheduled webinar S2 S6 for this evening at 5 p.m. They're talking about building back greener and accelerating the transition to net zero construction. And they've got Dr. Sieda Zainab Dangana as the speaker. So I want us to just avail the time to maybe pop in there and definitely have a snapshot of what our sister branch they'll be doing this evening at 5 p.m. It will be an opportunity for you to rub minds with other people from other regions of the UK, NSE, and see what they are doing. A good flavor as well. Wonderful topic coming up. And I believe definitely it will be beneficial for some of us who are in the sustainable engineering sector. Right, without much ado, because it's all about quality and not quantity, we want to say thank you so much for all of us that have been here. Some have been here as early as maybe 2 o'clock, so we don't want to waste their time any longer. For those that have asked questions, we want to say yes, thank you. But we can't just let us go without letting us know that definitely we need you on board. I mean, the pedigree of experience and the quality of technological know-how on this group on these webinars that they are getting awesome. But we need people on board. We need people that are going to rub minds with us maybe or less on this level in London branch of the NSE. And that is exactly where I'm making this appeal. If you are yet to join us, please get in touch with me. You know how you can get in touch. My doors are open 24/7. You can always have a chat with me at anyhow you want to join, either as corporate or affiliate member. And at the same time, we want to know exactly your background. I'm going to be talking to Engineer Woma. He has something to offer. And everyone is welcome. And we don't lose ties with our webinar deliverers. We're going to be having chats with Dr. Ayola as well to see how we can still connect. So one way or the other, definitely, you might find yourself in need of maybe an AI, solution. And we've got somebody that can help you over there when you get to Nigeria, if you are going there. And I want to say, London branch, we are putting so many things together now, but we need the quality of participation. And that is what we are calling upon you. If you know definitely you want to be part of us, give us a shout. Our Director of Publicity, Dr. Pokuola, you know him very well. I've got the Vice Chairman here as well, Chinedu Aweazu. I've got our able Secretary, Dr. May Sule, she's on board as well. And we have the Financial Secretary as well, Emmanuel Ajayi. So any one of us, we are all reachable at any time. Let's see what we can bring on the table in terms of value, and let's see how we can work together to make Nigeria a more technically sound and competitive place to do business. Thank you very much for taking your time, your wonderful British sunny afternoon to come and listen to us. And I know definitely you have not wasted your time, because this is an eye-opener. And by the time we call on you again for another webinar, kindly oblige to be with us with your presence, and have a wonderful weekend. God bless.